What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Dissect That Film, where we dissect your favorite film franchises and soon-to-be TV. I am one of your hosts, Brett Parker, and joining me are the new members of the show, the permanent hosts of Dissect That Film, the wonderful Dan and Aradella. Hey!
I like when you clap and like that just completely cuts on Discord. Hello, thank you. Hello.
Welcome. I'm so happy that you're not just guests anymore. You are now permanent hosts of the show.
We are here.
And
we're excited. I haven't done a podcast
excited.
in a long time. I love it.
Well, I've never done a podcast, so hey, here we go.
You're 19 episodes deep.
That's true. I guess I shouldn't say I've never done one, but this is my first podcast, technically, you know? But this is technically the first episode of the now named Dissect That Film podcast. But don't worry, the other episodes we've done are still going to be up for people to listen, just by a different name. So they're not going anywhere because there are some doozy episodes. You know, they Dan and Ara have been here since the beginning. They did our first ever reviews on this channel, and now they're going to be on forever until, you know, they get sick of me and want to get the fuck out.
We're contractually obligated. We can't leave until he leaves.
Right. Oh, man. So before we get into talking about the movie we are talking about today, and as you can see, that's what we're talking about today. You guys can't see it, but YouTube can see it. A lot of things, now the new things with the show now. So we're no longer streaming on Twitch anymore because I don't really want to. But there is a possibility the show can be streamed to anybody who does want to watch the show live while we record it. I'm going to be setting up a Patreon for the show, where people, you know, if nobody knows what Patreon is, it's pretty much you pay to watch exclusive content from a channel, YouTube, whatever. It's nothing crazy, but you'll be able to watch the show recorded live. So we record the shows on Tuesday, and the shows will be put on YouTube and podcast services on Fridays. But if, you know, you pay $1 on Patreon, you could watch us do this right now. Not now, because we haven't done it yet, but soon enough.
Later now.
Yes. Future. And also chat. Why am I saying chat? We're not on Twitch anymore. I see it's going to happen. This is what happens when we've been doing it this way. The shows are going to be in video form on YouTube. So if you like watching podcasts, video form, they're going to be on a YouTube channel, on Dissect That Film's YouTube channel. That is already created. But soon we're just waiting on some graphics and all that stuff. And then everything will be readily available for your eyes. But also, the audio versions will be put on podcast services the same day. And also, I'm jumping into the editing ocean. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with something funny. Not a very good editor, so don't judge me in the comments, okay? Say nice things in the comments, like how I'm cute and Dan is also cute.
You got an amazing beard, sir. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. I would look ridiculous without it. We're already starting off hot. Here we go.
Right.
Today, we are dissecting one of my favorite films of all time. It is in my top 3, along with, of course, Jaws as number 1. This is not my number 2, but it is number 3 for me. The Dark Knight is definitely squeezes itself in between Jaws and Jurassic Park. So The Dark Knight gets a nice Steven Spielberg sandwich since my boy Steven, he came back. You know, he's back. He's just so good. Lights. So yeah, we're talking about Jurassic Park. This movie is almost 30 years old. Isn't that crazy? This movie released June 11th, 1993.
I was in theaters there. You were too.
I was not.
Oh, that's right. How old were you?
I was not even 2. So,
can I say something? Oh, good.
no. Go ahead. You first.
Can I say something ironic about the release date? Just slightly ironic. I was 6, about to be 7, when I was seeing Jurassic Park. By the way, it scared the shit out of me. I don't remember covering my eyes and ears as most of the dinosaur stuff. So the reason I was there, I was scared of the T-Rex, Dilophosaurus, Velociraptor, all that stuff. Anyway, I was 6 when I went to watch Jurassic Park in theaters, and our oldest son was also 6 when he watched his first Jurassic Park movie, which was Jurassic World in theaters. So little trivia, random.
That's
trivia.
awesome.
Was it really trivia? It was just
About me? It's trivia! Okay, go ahead.
The first Jurassic Park movie I saw in theaters was Jurassic Park 3 with my grandma. So as much as I am not the biggest fan of that movie, it always has a nice place in my heart because I got to see it with the person who got me so invested into watching. She's the one who showed me Jaws. She's the one who showed me Jurassic Park. She had the vast VHS collection, and I think I wore Jurassic Park out. I remember getting the Lost World. We'll talk about it more in the Lost World episode, but I'm going to talk about it now because I want to. The Lost World's VHS had you remember those plastic things with the picture would show you one picture, and then if you move it, it changes the image. Yeah, I had one of those in the slip in the front. You could take it out, and it has just a still image. God,
you remember this?
So good.
How do you not remember this? You were there. Anyway, no, I remember it. Actually, I'll talk about the Lost World stuff next time.
on the next episode.
I saw this movie in theaters 20 years later when they re-released it in theaters for the 20th anniversary in 3D. Wasn't a very good 3D movie, but what movie really was good in 3D? Not many.
I was about to ask that.
But just to be able to go see Jurassic Park in theaters on the big screen, it was so surreal. I felt like I was 5 years old again. It was great. And I still remember it. And then to be able to take my son I think my son was 4, maybe not even 4 when Jurassic World came out, and I brought him to go see that. And he actually sat through the whole movie. He loves it. Jurassic Park is one of my son's favorite movies. Actually, I think it might be his favorite movie.
That's one of the Lego games our kids play the most when they would go through spurts.
Oh, yeah.
I have Lego Jurassic Park. I bought it when it came out. They love that. They love that game.
Oh, Lego Jurassic World's one of the only very few games that I've 100%.
Yeah, right. Same.
Thanks to my good friend Bob. He helped me get that 100%.
I had to look it up. I actually had one of them glitch out on me. I had to delete my save file, start all the way because I couldn't get the 100% for it.
You hate to see it.
Gamer problems, dude.
Right? So yeah, like I said, this movie came out box office of $912 million in 1993. That was before re-releases. June 11th, 1993. Grossed $912 million before being re-released 20 years later. And it is one of the oldest films to reach $1 billion at the box office with the re-release. So it hit that $1 billion mark after being re-released. I think it finished up with $1.03 billion after all said and done. Insane.
That's pretty good.
It was
so good. It's because dinosaurs.
Right?
Who doesn't like dinosaurs?
Right?
Except for your ilk. I'm just kidding.
My mom likes Jurassic Park.
I'm just kidding. Just a subtle stab.
This was the highest grossing film ever until Titanic came out in 1997. But of course, Titanic has to fucking James Cameron.
Who gives a crap about a boat?
A lot of people
don't even say.
I trust me. I love Titanic. The movie, not why I love Titanic. I was a huge Titanic buff. I read so many books about Titanic. I was invested.
You should visit us. You know the Titanic thing.
Oh.
Guess what the budget was for this movie? And it's ironic because of how long ago dinosaurs have been extinct, or how long they've been extinct for.
Go ahead.
I know I gave it away.
You go first. No, you did, but go ahead. You got it. He just gave you the answer.
I don't know.
It's like when Jeopardy gives you the answer, you just
Yeah.
say what is
Because I don't remember.
$65 million.
Yes. This
You're not
film
really
was this film was directed by one of my favorites, Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
When Michael
Awesome
Crichton
director.
wrote the book, yes, this was a book before it was a movie, but literally this book was written and wasn't even published, and there was already 4 studios that wanted this movie or wanted the rights to make the movie.
It was 89, I believe, wasn't it, when it was written, the book? 89 or 90?
And he might have wrote it in 89, but it wasn't published, I believe, until before Crichton's novel was published, 4 studios put in bids for its film rights with the backing of Universal Studios. Spielberg acquired the rights for $1.5 million before its publication in 1990. So it was published in 90.
Yeah, November 20th, 1990.
And I think it was like
a big turkey.
Yeah. But originally when Crichton had the first 4 people to put in for it was Columbia Pictures, Tim Burton.
You would have ruined this. I'm sorry.
I mean, to be honest, I feel like Spielberg was the perfect fit for this. I mean, with Jaws, I think, Jaws being a huge one for him, and what he could do, what he did with the Indiana Jones series. I mean,
the Duel. I mean, he's got a roaring truck.
Yes,
I mean, come on.
Yes, we can't forget Duel. Okay, people are like, what? What's that movie? So originally, Spielberg was going to direct Schindler's List after when he got the rights, he was directing Hook.
Oh, yeah.
And he wanted to direct Schindler's List before that. But he was pretty much, the studio was like, no, we're going to pay you. They paid him like a crap ton of money to literally be like, you're going to direct Jurassic Park next. And then you could do Schindler's List, that, you could do that movie later. You can go win your Academy Awards later. Okay. Make this dinosaur movie now, Steven.
Exactly.
This movie won Academy Awards for special effects because it was groundbreaking. Special effects were used in movies prior to Jurassic Park, but Jurassic Park special effects put special effects on the map. Like they made, it blew up after that, and they were so good. You watch Jurassic Park in 2021. This movie is from 1993. You watch this movie and you're like, damn. When the T-Rex breaks out of its enclosure in the rain and it's dark, and you're like, how can I watch a movie that came out 2 years ago and it looks like garbage compared to this? It's ridiculous.
No, I agree, because every time I watch this, I look at it, I'm like, okay, you can see these are a little bit older, but they hold up, like you said, unbelievably well, and they weren't even supposed to be used in the movie.
No.
The CG was actually, I know I'm going to date the hell out of this podcast, but on Netflix, have you ever watched this series, The Movies That Made Us?
Yes, I was actually going to reference that because they just came out with an episode about Jurassic Park. Yeah.
Did you watch that one yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
Like that. There was, well, of course. But I had to ask. You never know. People are busy. But anyway, I like it was just meant to add motion blur to the stop motion, because stop motion looks fake.
Yeah.
Compared to like actual things. I mean, I thought that was neat. The guy's like, hey, check this shit out. I'm like, you should do that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then CG happened.
Right. But yeah, the special effects were created by Industrial Light and Magic, which was that Lucas owned?
Yes, I think Lucas owns. Yeah. I'll look. You keep going.
And the animatronics were created by Stan Winston, one of the most iconic when it comes to practical effects, creature effects in movies. Stan Winston was the king.
Yeah, George Lucas, 1975.
Yeah.
Stan Winston's very good.
Yes,
very good.
Definitely a huge loss when he passed away a while back, but his studio is still open, still making some amazing practical effects, and I've heard that his studio is going to be doing a lot of the practical effects for the newest Jurassic World that's coming out next year,
Dominion.
which I need more. One of the things I can give a little bit of praise to when it comes to Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, which I'm not going to talk about that in super detail, but they used a lot of practical effects in it, where
Yes.
Jurassic World did not,
Yes.
which was very disappointing because that is, I think, when you watch Jurassic Park and you watch, let's say, the scene when Grant pulls Lex out of the truck and she's sitting there in the mud and he's trying to get Tim out and she screams because she sees the T-Rex and then the T-Rex head swings in front of her. It's a real thing. She's reacting to a gigantic animatronic, which we'll get into the details of the crazy experience with that thing. To be able to react to that is so cool compared to like trying to react to, hey, can you be scared of this tennis ball? Okay. Pretend it's a giant dinosaur, which, in certain situations you have to go that way because, you can only do so much with practical effects.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
So Crichton, he had a non-negotiable fee of $1.5 million for the rights. Warner Brothers, Tim Burton, Columbia Pictures, and Richard Donner, the director of the 1978 Superman. He did the Goonies, the Lethal Weapon movies, and many others. They all put in for, and Joe Dante, who is Gremlins director, and 20th Century Fox, which is now just 20th Century since Disney owns it. They all put in bids for the rights to Jurassic Park. Sid Sheinberg, who was the president of the Music Corporation of America, so it was a Universal parent company. He's the one who pretty much he gave the green light for Schindler's List, but then was like, Spielberg, you got to do this one first. So, like, you can make Schindler's List, but you got to do this first.
We got some good money on this one, brother.
Yeah, this might be the one. But yeah, so many firsts in the industry. The acting, like, this movie is just perfect. I don't know. Listen, there are some things that I will question when we go through the plot. Like, where the fuck did that cliff come from? But we'll get to that.
Yes. Yeah.
But in my eyes, this is, every time I watch this movie, I feel like I'm 5 years old again, sitting in my grandma's living room watching it on a freaking giant tube TV. It's just it brings you back. Like when I had to watch this to do notes and stuff, my son was like, "What are you doing? Why are you watching this?" I was like, "Why not?" He's like, "You don't
get out. You're not my kid."
He's like, "You don't know this movie?" I was like, "Of course I know this movie. Of course I know everything that happens in this movie, but I want to watch it."
Add another tally.
Yes. I can't even count how many times I've seen this movie. But yeah, this I love this movie. I can't wait to talk more about it. But let's get your guys' thoughts. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
What?
You're up. We've been talking a lot. It's your turn.
Does Jurassic Park hold up in 2021?
How does it taste? Is it supple?
Gosh, my stomach's making all kinds of racket.
Are you hungry or something?
No.
Okay, I don't know if you're hungry. Cool.
It just wants to talk to.
Oh, okay. It wants to be included. That's fair.
Oh, I don't. Every time I watch it, I love it over and over. Like, I don't think there's amount of times you can watch this movie and get tired of it.
Wholeheartedly
But
agree.
yeah, it holds up. It definitely holds up.
Oh, you go ahead. What was I doing? Okay, cool. So just anyway, obviously, because we have Jurassic Park shirts on. She has one too. She's just not wearing it right now.
I have a Jurassic World shirt.
And I have tattoos. And I love the movie. I could see it a billion times over. It holds up so well. It by me no means is a perfect movie, but when it comes, I will spoil this much. When it comes to the other Jurassic Park movies, I kind of hold this on a pedestal like all of its own. Like it's just like it's its own thing. It's kind of like the first Jaws compared to the rest of the series. Not saying from a sheer quality standpoint, but it's kind of like a standalone. It's just so damn good. It's a classic. I can't hold other movies really in the same series in comparison because nothing's ever going to touch it.
No.
Be it from nostalgia, just how the time it was made, the people that were in it, just everything. It's like, again, like the original Jaws. Everything just came together and made literally almost a perfect film.
Mhm. I agree.
Brilliant.
So,
and plus, it's quotable. It's quotable.
Yes.
Quotable.
Yes. Some great actors in this movie.
Yep.
Sam Neill, Laura Dern, of course, the legend himself, Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, absolutely.
You can't. Richard Attenborough, the late Bob Peck, who plays Muldoon, rest in peace.
Oh.
Joseph Mazzello, who played Tim, Ariana Richards, Sam L. Jackson, even though it was very brief. Wayne Knight, Newman himself.
Yep.
Martin Ferrero. I don't know much about him other than this movie. He's the one who plays Gennaro, the lawyer.
Well, I could tell you this: his character in the book is entirely different.
I've heard that about a lot of the characters.
I think most of them hold on to their core. Gennaro is very different because Gennaro is actually Gennaro in the book or in the movie adds more like the character Ed Regis from the novel, which is actually in the movie, but he doesn't do anything. You remember when they first pull up in the Jeep right before they see the Brachiosaurus? It's the guy driving Grant and Ellie Sadler.
Oh, okay.
No, sorry, not him. It's the guy with Malcolm. It's with Malcolm.
Yeah.
That's Ed Regis, but he has no significance in the film whatsoever.
Yeah, and you don't know who it is. It's just a guy who's driving the Jeep.
Exactly. And in the book, Gennaro is a heavier set, middle-aged lawyer who is actually extremely protective of the kids, which is entirely different. Ed Regis is the coward that runs off. And yeah, we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. When we get to that scene.
And
Keep on going.
And I can't name all the cast without including B.D. Wong, who plays Dr. Henry Wu, who I'm gonna do a future spoiler because fuck, why did they make him I can't stand that they made him a bad guy.
Yeah,
that's all I gotta say about it. I hate it. I hate it. I feel like they could have made him such a better character down the road, but he wasn't in this for very long. He was kind of just that one scene, which was always, it's such a great back and forth between him and Malcolm.
If you can remind me, sometime around Jurassic Park 3 and Jurassic World, there's actually some deep lore stuff regarding him that kind of explains a little bit more why he is the way he is, but we'll do that later.
All right.
If I remember.
Yeah.
Back at it when you watch this one now. After
but he's not really.
He's not like, I don't want him to be a bad guy, but then you watch this and you're like,
yeah, but he's not even really significant. Like he has that scene at the beginning, and that's it.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't be too mad when he's not really a super established character. He was literally in that one scene, and then he shows up later.
Yeah, he's much more prominent in the novel.
I really need to read them. I mean, I have them right there. So
just get if not, just get an audiobook, dude.
Yeah.
Audible.
This movie was 2 hours and 8 minutes, and boy, I could have had more. Just pack on some more. 2.5 hours. Let's go.
Breezes by.
I know.
Breezes by, so 100%.
John Williams composed the score for this movie. One of the greatest scores in cinematic history. I literally always have the Jurassic Park theme song in my head because it's just so good.
I like the Lego games put the other song in my head. I don't know the name. It's not the Jurassic Park one. It's right after they touch down the helicopter. Jurassic Park music stops, and they're like riding the Jeeps. It's kind of like this triumphant kind of like. No. After that, no, not even. No, it's a completely different song, like a totally different score. I'll have to pull it up and listen to it. Like when you hear it, like, it's that song.
Yeah.
It's like when they're driving around a little bit and you hear it, and it's not the Jurassic Park theme. It's after all of that plays. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm just here. I'm here to listen. So yeah, so what I want you to do is I'm going to go over the plot. That's what we do in this show, ladies and gentlemen. We go over the plot, and then Dan and Ara are going to throw shit at me when we get to certain spots. Dan is going to do a lot of references between the movie and the book since he read the book and is more knowledgeable about the book.
Remember.
That's fine.
It's been
it
a few
doesn't need to
years.
be everything. Because I've never read the book. I have read some of the book, but it was also when I was like 9 years old and I don't remember. I remember reading it going, what the hell is going on? And then I kind of lost interest in it. And I was like, I'm just going to go watch the movie again. So the movie opens with it wasn't even the initial like theme. It's like that really like I love it as everything's popping up on screen, and then you get the Jurassic Park title card, and we get a night scene outside of a paddock, and we meet
trees are rustling.
Yep. Oh, so good. We see a giant crate being moved into like they're going to be attaching it to the paddock, and we meet Robert Muldoon. We don't really know who he is at this point. We just know that he works at this park. We don't even know where we're at, to be honest. We just know that we do know, but we don't in movie sense.
We know two things. One, he's probably a badass because he is.
He is.
And two, he has a SPAS 12. But go ahead.
Oh, that's fun.
We know one more thing. He wears short shorts.
And he does.
I mean, listen, he's showing off them thighs. All right. He got some muscular thighs. All right. He's got to show them puppies off. He's in the tropics. Okay. He's got to stay.
It's hot.
He's got to stay cool.
Also, the guards that are around him that have M16s, I got to point this out. I'm sorry. I'm a gun guy. These people don't know proper gun safety. I'm just going to point this out right now because everybody's like locked onto their trigger, like ready to go. Yep. God, chill out, man.
Yeah,
anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, because they're just extras who've never held a gun.
Yeah, like just hold this.
Hey, can you stand in the background? Just look like you're helping. Muldoon tells Joffrey, one of the guards, to open up the gate. He climbs up to the top and slowly opens up the gate. And you hear, well, actually, before that, you hear noises coming from inside the crate. You don't see much, but like a silhouette of an eye, and you hear the amazing noises coming from the creature inside. Muldoon tells Joffrey to go up and open the gate. And as he's about to open it all the way, the creature inside charges it, hits it, knocks the cage back, knocking Joffrey off. He falls down next to it, and that's when we get the attack scene where the creature, I'm going to call it a creature even though we know what it is, okay? Because at this moment in time, if you've seen it for the first time, you don't know what it is yet. You know it's a dinosaur, of course, but you don't know what kind of dinosaur. And you get, Joffrey getting attacked. Muldoon's trying to hold him back. He gets dragged up like halfway up. This thing is strong as hell. That's all I got to say.
Yep.
And they're hitting it with tasers, with stun guns and all that, or whatever the hell, what are those things called? Cattle prod. Yeah. And it just gets to the point where Joffrey starts getting taken back, and it's shoot-ah!
It's so good, dude. His hands like slipping out.
And you get the slow-mo of his hand going away. Right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. This scene, I do need to complain about something on this scene. I love this movie, and this is absolutely from a loving standpoint. If this park is so, and just even, I'm assuming the production of this park is so reliant on automation, why the hell did they have a guy climb on top of it to open it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's more for dramatic effect.
I understand, like a little winch, like a pulley, like I got it. Guy standing this. Anyway. Right.
True. We then cut. Yeah, that's true. That's such an iconic line.
You remember, because I got to mention this in Lego Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
After that scene, it's just the creature. No, the creature just wants to eat his hot dog. Yeah. He's like eating a hot dog while he's on top of the cage. He's like, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, Lego games. We then cut to our next main-ish character, Gennaro. He's a lawyer who works for InGen, the company that John Hammond owns. So John Hammond is the owner of this park that no one really knows about. And he's talking to a digger an archaeologist or a paleontologist. Is this what this guy is, or is he just a guy like a?
He's pretty sure he's a paleontologist as well.
Yeah.
Because he says he's like.
Grant's like me.
Grant. Yeah, he's a digger.
He's a digger. He meets with the paleontologist and tells him that they need to investigate the incident that happened to Joffrey, the guard that was attacked. And we see our first piece of ember as they're talking about, how they're pretty much just laying the ground layer here of what the heck is gonna happen. Gennaro's got to investigate, so that means he's gonna be joining on this journey at some point. And then we get the piece of ember, which has it's a fossilized mosquito.
Yep.
Inside a tree sap.
Yes.
And he talks about so they're talking about how they need to get people to go to the park. So they talk about Grant. He talks about how Grant wouldn't be interested in doing that because he's a digger.
Yeah.
We then cut to the Badlands of Montana. Yes, I know the Badlands are in Montana, even though it didn't tell me. It just says the Badlands.
Yep.
And we meet Alan Grant and Ellie Sadler. They are looking at a raptor skeleton on a computer. And Grant doesn't like computers.
No.
Because this is going to, I mean, what's the point of digging anymore if we could just get this?
Yeah, right.
It's got like cardboard around the monitor. I love it. He puts his hand on it. It disrupts the signal. And we then get this great scene where, because Grant is describing to everybody how so it's a Velociraptor skeleton. He's describing how Velociraptors are most closely related to birds than they are reptiles. And he's describing all the different how certain bones are a certain way and how their bones are hollow like a bird and all that stuff. And then this kid just out of nowhere is like, so what? So I'm supposed to be scared of an overgrown turkey? And
I'd be scared of a big turkey personally.
And that is when Grant pretty much breaks it down on how Velociraptors hunt, eat, and just scare the shit out of you with his fossilized raptor claw. And there is a theory out there, I don't know if you've ever heard this theory, that this boy becomes Owen Grady from Jurassic World.
I've heard that theory.
It's been shot down by Colin Trevorrow, the director of Jurassic World. But why not? Why not? This would have made him respect raptors. Then he becomes a raptor trainer down the road. Come on.
I agree. But this is also the same Colin Trevorrow that said Jurassic World will have no feathers. And now the new Jurassic World movie, Dominion, the dinosaurs are going to have feathers. Just saying.
Yeah. Well, we shall see.
So we cleansed.
Yeah. So yeah, he describes talking about how they pretty much will eat you while you're still alive. Like they use their giant retractable claw to cut your insides, eat you while you're alive, scaring the shit out of this kid. And Ellie's just back there laughing because Grant's he's so good with children.
Oh, he's wonderful, isn't he?
Yeah. And you kind of question though, so it's early, but you're questioning, are these two in a relationship, Grant and Ellie? And I guess it kind of clarifies it as they're walking up the hill talking about wanting kids, about him talking to her about you want one of those? It's I don't want that one. I do.
Yeah, right.
Fun fact, the kid who plays that kid, I don't know if that kid even had a name. He was in one of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, Dream Child.
Was he?
Yeah, which was the fourth or fifth one. But he,
okay.
Yeah, he played I think he played an evil alternate version Freddy. It was weird. He's an interesting looking kid.
Okay, I have trivia. Trivia and something that's just wrong in this movie. First off, in the novel, Grant actually does love children. So, entirely different between the two.
Stinky.
I know, he did say they're stinky. And that is true. There are some kids just stink, dude. I'm going to tell you straight up. I'm sorry, they do. But in the novels, he actually does like children. Secondly, this is, I'm sure a lot of Jurassic Park fans know this or don't know this. The Velociraptor in the movie is not actually a Velociraptor.
It's a Utah raptor, isn't it?
Yes, even though Utah Raptor technically would have been larger, it's more closely related to likely a Deinonychus.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they're about the same size.
Mhm.
But Utah Raptor was more, or Velociraptor was more of a general term at the time he wrote the novel, less specified, because the real Velociraptor, which is Velociraptor mongoliensis, is actually native to Mongolia, hence the name, and they're actually about the size of a large chicken or a turkey.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Though they'd still tear you up, but I'm just one of those.
I think it was used. I think when he wrote it, it was more of, it was like, what name sounds more terrifying? Like
Yep.
Velociraptor sounds scary. Like,
Yep.
Fuck that.
Yep. I mean, it works. You got to use what works for your film.
Right.
So I understand.
Listen, there's a lot of things, like when they created these dinosaurs for this movie, there's a lot of like a lot of things that are wrong about the way the dinosaurs look, and we're gonna get to a certain dinosaur later in the movie that is completely wrong compared to the real dinosaur.
Yes. Yep.
But you got to think, like, so the change, I think, for Grant, you know, in the beginning of this movie, he's not a fan of kids, and then of course later on he you know, he's got to protect two kids, and he pretty much adopts them as his own throughout the movie. So I think that was the reasoning. They had to give him an arc.
That's true. That makes sense.
And
I mean, I don't got a problem with it. Just something I'm pointing out.
Right, no, that's fine. I'm seeing that as the reason behind Spielberg doing that. Michael Crichton actually wrote the screenplay for the movie. He was paid an additional $500,000 to write the script. He actually finished the script to the movie before Spielberg was done filming Hook. So this script was written almost 3 years before the movie. Well, technically it was like 2 years before the production started, because I think production started in 92. And it was a long production. Right. We then get a helicopter dropping, causing chaos at the dig site. Grant meets John Hammond as he rummages through his fridge. Hammond is the one who has funded their digs. So at first, they're like, what the hell? Who are you? As he opens up a bottle of champagne they were saving for something. I guess a big dig, a big discovery. Yeah. But then they find out who he is and what he's done. So they kind of change their tune. He talks about how he purchased an island off the coast of Costa Rica, and it's like a game reserve. Well, not a game reserve. It's a biological preserve. And they're like, at first they're like, no, we can't. We got to dig. We got a job. This is what we want to do. And he's like, well, how about I fund you for the next 3 years? You come okay this park. And they're like, yeah, well, we can't say no. The guy's going to literally let us live for 3 more years.
Yeah, right.
So they get excited, and they are going to go to the park. We then cut to San Jose, Costa Rica, as we meet Dodson. We got Dodson here.
Nobody cares.
He is meeting with a man named, is it Ned? Or what's his first name? Dennis Nedry, played by Newman himself, Wayne Knight. He's perfect for this role. They casted him perfectly. I think of Dennis Nedry and just how slimy he is.
Yes,
I just think Wayne Knight. I'm sorry, Wayne Knight. I think you're fantastic. I mean, I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. I love Newman. And other movies he's been in, of course. But he's perfect as the slimy character. Where he calls the guy, of course, we just quoted it, but he calls the guy over and he's like, you shouldn't say my name out loud. And he's like, nobody cares, man. Nobody cares who you are. Right. Pretty much what this guy works for an outside company, right? Who's trying to steal embryos from the park.
Biosyn.
That's the company name?
Yeah, Biosyn's the company. I don't know if they ever directly say it in the film, but that's what it is. It's Biosyn.
So he hires Dennis, who works for the park. He's going to pay him a lot of money to steal some embryos. And the cool way of stealing those embryos is with a modified Barbasol shaving cream can, which
Yep.
I'm now upset. I have 2 Jurassic World Special Edition Barbasol cans that I've never used,
Same.
and I didn't
Yeah.
put them out. Damn it.
His are
Ours are
right
over
outside the
here.
door.
And it's one of the coolest things. I wish they made this as a toy.
Somebody does. Somebody makes a replica somewhere.
Because I had so much Jurassic Park toys as a kid, and I really wish my grandma bought me a modified Barbasol can so I could pretend to steal the embryos and then get eaten by
There you go.
a dinosaur.
The wrong dinosaur.
The wrong dinosaur, exactly. We then jump onto a helicopter, and we get to meet all the rest of the wonderful, wacky crew, as we have John Hammond, we have Gennaro, the lawyer, Grant and Ellie, and the best character of this movie, Dr. Ian Malcolm. And listen, I love Ian Malcolm in this movie.
So good.
And Jeff Goldblum is just a wonderful, wonderful human, and I want to meet him. I want to literally sit down, just have a talk about whatever. It doesn't have to be about any of the movies he's been in. Let's just talk.
Yeah.
That's just
Goldblum?
how cool he is.
Right?
He is a chaos. So what is he technically? Because he calls himself a chaotician or something like that. Because he talks about chaos.
It's an offshoot of mathematics. It's all like statistical probabilities and shit. Yeah.
So he pretty much is explaining, chaos to everybody on the helicopter. We then get our first sound of one of the greatest theme songs ever, as they approach the island, which is the island of Kauai in Hawaii, where they filmed pretty much all of the Jurassic Parks and Jurassic Worlds.
I think part of Jurassic World was filmed in British Columbia. I'm pretty sure it was when they were back at the mansion thing. But I think for the most part it's been Hawaii.
A lot of the
Hawaiian islands,
right? A lot of like the outdoor scenes were filmed in Hawaii.
Yeah,
and I think it was on Kauai. Right? That's an island, right? Am I just making up words?
Could be a fruit.
Okay.
No, it's Kauai. Kauai's an island.
Okay. So they descend onto the platform. Grant's having a hard time buckling his seatbelt because clearly, what is going on here? Like, who created this helicopter? Somebody messed up in this thing. They can't figure out how to do it, so he just ties two ends together and still wouldn't protect you. Still not very helpful if something were to happen.
No, I think he's just showing his little ingenuity on the spot. It's like, this is kind of how he is.
They then hop into some really cool Jurassic Park Jeeps. So we figure out that it's called Jurassic Park because it says it on the side of the Jeeps, even though I wish they never showed the side of the Jeeps until he says the line.
Yes.
So you know where you are. Gennaro explains his reasons for being there, and Hammond's just laughing him off. He's just like, we need to investigate this place, and if we don't like what we see, we're going to shut you down. He's like, by the end of this, you're going to be thanking me.
Right.
They stop suddenly as Ellie is examining a prehistoric leaf that she's very confused how the hell it's growing there. We get a great reaction from Grant, which is one of the greatest reactions to anything ever, where he sees something in the distance and he's like takes his glasses off. He's like, he's in complete shock. He stands up in the Jeep and then he ends up grabbing Ellie's head to turn her so she could see it too. And they both have a amazing reaction, and then we turn and see it's a giant Brachiosaurus. So majestic. So majestic. So we see our first.
Was it really there?
Nope.
They react well.
They did react well. Very well. So yeah, we see our first full dinosaur of the movie, and it's glorious. So good as they're trying to compose themselves as they just like, how is this even happening right now? They were talking about certain things with the dinosaur. And then that's when Hammond talks about, we clocked the T-Rex speed at a certain, I don't remember exactly what he said.
32 miles an hour.
And he's like, you got a T-Rex? It's like, yeah, we got a T-Rex. And so that's when he gets all wonky in the knees and he collapses. And that's when we get the Dr. Was it Dr. Sadler, Dr. Grant? Welcome to Jurassic Park. And you're like, yes! With the great theme.
Yep, go ahead.
With the great theme music behind. And that's when we get the shot of Grant looking in the distance. And we see the herds of different species of dinosaurs. I'm not going to name them all because I don't know them all. Coming out of kind of like a lake. And he's talking about, they do move in herds. It's so good.
So you do have Brachiosaurus, and there's actually the only shot of that movie of Parasaurolophus. The one that's got the long tube on his Elvis. Got the pompadour. Make a Lost World reference. But anyway, the one that's got the long tube out its head.
Yes.
At the back of its head. Yeah.
Yep.
Parasaurolophus. The only shot in this movie you ever see him. They're never mentioned again. Nothing. Not
Don't worry.
Lost World.
Don't worry. There's another dinosaur in this movie that we see once and then never see again, unless it's a hologram
or stuffed in a museum.
Stupid.
Go ahead.
We got Malcolm's great reaction to everything. It's like, you bastards did it. You sons of you son of a bitch did it. And Gennaro, and all Gennaro sees is dollar bills. He's like, we're gonna get rich off this place.
Oh.
They all go to the Welcome Center, and pretty much they're questioning, like, what does this mean for paleontology? We're out of a job? And that's when Malcolm gets the great response of, oh, no, extinct. Don't you mean extinct?
Yep.
Such a great line. Well, they go on a ride. They go on this like weird ride that's going to take them around everything that's going on in this building. So they're going to see the lab. They're going to see all this thing. And it starts up with this really cool video where we meet one of the coolest characters I think ever created in cinematic history. The moniker for our wonderful hosts here on this show. But the wonderful, is it Mr. DNA or Dr. DNA?
Mr.
DNA.
His voice. Unfortunately, the actor who played him passed away shortly after. So they weren't able to get him back for Jurassic World. But I love that he's still, they got a guy who sounds pretty close to him for Jurassic World and for the video game.
You know who did him, right?
I don't know the actor's name. It's
Colin Trevorrow. He does the voice of Mr. DNA.
Oh, in Jurassic World. I think you were talking about in this.
Yeah. No, the new one. Yeah, the new one. Yeah. I have no idea who does it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't begin to tell you.
So we get the whole breakdown of how Jurassic Park pretty much did all this. How they brought dinosaurs back to life. And
dinosaurs.
Yes, and the way that Mr. DNA says dinosaur is the greatest. And the funniest thing, the greatest thing is, so this channel that I watch, and I've probably talked to you about it, it's called Dead Meat. And he did a kill count for all the Jurassic Park movies. And he's a huge Jurassic Park fan himself. So anytime he says dinosaur in his show, even if it doesn't have to do with Jurassic Park or anything related to it, if there's a dinosaur, that's how he says it in every video.
Yeah.
Dinosaur.
Good.
And that makes me love his channel even more.
Oh yeah, it's
check
great.
it out.
I like that.
Dead Meat. Check it out. I'm shouting him out right now because it's a great channel. And watch the Jurassic Park kill count.
Oh, there you go.
We'll link the channel in the description. So yeah, they go on this ride and they're getting explained to them about the creation, how they created dinosaurs. They took the DNA from a fossilized tree sap called amber. And they took the DNA, which couldn't happen in real life, but it's a movie. It's fine. They extract the blood from the mosquitoes, the fossilized mosquitoes, which then they mix with frog DNA. And that's how it all happens. And then they inject them into ostrich eggs to then create dinosaurs.
Boom. Dino DNA. Yep. Carry on.
And then we get... we go past the lab where we see the different things happening, and they're like, well, what happens with this and what happens with that? And then they somehow just say, fuck it, we're getting out of here. They just break the ride. I would have been so much more pissed if I was Hammond in that situation. Yeah. Like, what the hell? And
how are money on this?
And how are these so cheap? How did you pop those up so easily? it's one of those scenes where I'm like, that's kind of shitty. He invites you to come here and you break his shit.
Right?
We hear the voice of the amazing Sam Jackson over the intercom calling for people to go to the boat. There's a boat going off the island at a certain time, and you can't miss his voice. You know, Sam Jackson is one of the most iconic voices ever. And then we meet Dr. Henry Wu, who is like the lead scientist here. He is pretty much the one who helped make all this happen.
Yep.
And he explains certain things to everybody in the room. And Malcolm is the one who comes out with like, how to like can they breed in the wild? And he's like, no, because they're all female. We pretty much engineered them that way. We pretty much, you know, males have that extra chromosome. We just take that chromosome away. And that's when Malcolm goes into his thing is like, well, that's, you know, life finds a way. You know, even, you know, you have a bunch of females at some point, you know, something might happen, which would cause them to breed, which we will see that happen later on. But pretty much Malcolm is like, yeah, this seems like a bad idea.
When we get to that scene, I'm going to talk about my favorite scene that's in the novel that is not in the movie. But I know he's got a point.
Yeah, he does. And to be honest, when you rewatch this as an adult, because you don't really pick it up as a kid, is just the mannerisms. Anytime anyone like speaks truths, Hammond just always oh yeah, is that right? Okay, no one cares.
Yeah, right.
When you watch this movie as an adult, you see more of how evil Hammond is. Hammond's a bad person.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
He's just good at hiding it.
Yeah. As they're talking about all this craziness, one of the eggs starts to hatch, and Hammond's the first one there. He helps the little dino break out of his egg, and then he hands it off to Grant, and Grant asks, what species is this? And that's when Wu says, Velociraptor. It's like, you bred raptors? Yep. And you get this face where it's Grant is excited, but I think he's also terrified for the fact that they are breeding something so dangerous.
Yep.
And that's when we get to meet. That's when we run into our boy Robert Muldoon once again.
Yes.
Man, he is so cool. I wish he was my dad.
I want them shorty shorts.
Yeah. And he is a very honest person. He is not somebody who sugarcoats anything. He pretty much is like, yeah, if these things are bad news, they shouldn't be here. They should have just killed them all. And yeah, this is crazy. And Hammond's back there like, stop it.
He's a tad dramatic.
Yeah. He talks about how they bred 8 at first, but there was a alpha female. I guess that's how you would determine it. And she pretty much killed all of them but 2. So she. Yep. This is the thing, though, as we go through, is like do you ever figure out which one is the alpha female? When you see all the encounters they have with the raptors later in the movie?
I don't know. There's some scenes where I'm like, I think that's the one. I think it's when the one that first goes into the door. The one that always seems like it's in charge. Like, you can kind of like tell by their demeanor a little bit. Yeah. But it's one of the 2 that's in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't think they ever was like, that's the one.
Right. But, so yeah, he pretty much was talking about how smart they are, how like they used to feed them a certain way, but they would attack the fences but they wouldn't attack the same spot of the fence.
Yep.
Because they knew, and so they have to start feeding them from a crane. They literally have to crane food over the enclosure and drop it in, and it's so good because it kind of has that Jaws feel to it, where they drop the cow into the enclosure. You don't see them, you just hear them, and it's great because you can hear them running, even though you can guarantee there's nothing in there.
Yeah, and they're loud as hell.
Oh, yeah. The calls, and it's funny, if you want to know some of the noises they used to create all the dinosaur noises, fantastic. The barking of the raptor is actually two tortoises going at it. Did you know that?
Right. It's good. Yeah, it should be. It's intense. We need intense sex noises.
Yes. But it's one of my favorite noises. I love the bark call. It's like the alarm. It calls all the raptors, and you'll see it more prominent in future Jurassic Park movies, of them calling to each other and them working more as a team, where this was kind of the beginning.
I will say this, though, and this may be just... I've got the Blu-rays. Obviously, I'm sure you do as well, correct?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, so I told Angela when Dominion comes out on 4K, I'm just buying all of them again on 4K, because you know they're going to do a set. But anyway, I think it may be just the transfers we have. I'm not sure. But I think out of all, like, especially the first 3 films, for sure, this has the best sound design.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I agree.
Like
everything.
Like all the roars, and like even just like equalizer wise, like all of them just sound really intense and loud, and like how it's like it just really shows how powerful they are as creatures through the audio design.
Oh, I definitely agree.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, she'll be right back.
Okay. We'll continue. Everybody goes back to the visitor center because it's time to eat. They get their food and no one's eating. But they're pretty much all ganging up on Hammond. Pretty much going around talking about, well, actually Malcolm starts the whole thing by pretty much just telling Hammond, like, you're a madman. Like, you guys pretty much, you saw what other people did and you took it and you pretty much made it like you discovered it.
Yeah, like you did, like you said, what you have, the power you have now didn't require discipline.
Yeah.
You're literally like a kid who found his dad's gun.
Yep.
You're just using it.
And so Hammond goes around the table asking everybody else what they think, and they pretty much all are on Malcolm's side in a different way. Grant and Sadler are a lot nicer about it, but they are.
Yes.
She's like, you have plants in your lobby that are poisonous, but you got them because they look nice.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I love it because Gennaro was the first one to talk. Actually, he was the one who was talking about how much they're going to charge. He's like, I don't want this to be a place for just the super rich. I want everyone to be able to come here. And then everyone's against him. And then he's like, I bring you all here to, praise me pretty much. And the only one on my side is the blood sucking lawyer.
He's like, thanks.
It's time to meet the grandkids, Lex and Tim. Hammond is, of course, their grandfather. And I guess their parents are like, screw it. Go to this island full of dinosaurs to hang out with your grandfather in this park that's not technically open yet. Sounds like a great idea.
He's rich. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Tim is a huge dinosaur nerd, and Lex is a hacker. I'm a hacker. You're going to hear that. Did I sound like her there? That was pretty close.
Yeah, I'm a hacker.
I'm a hacker.
Nerd. Funny trivia, in the book, their ages are swapped.
Oh, yeah, I did read that.
Yeah, Tim is much older. But I want to say, now, don't hold me to this. I cannot remember this for the life of me. I think it's still Tim. And this is a feature that ends up in one of the other Jurassic Park movies. Who's the younger kid in the Jurassic World?
Oh, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, but the younger kid, the older brother,
Yeah.
But I can't remember, one of the kids is like that in the book, where I don't know if it's kind of like an autistic thing or whatever. I'm not sure, but he's really good with numbers.
I think he's got like Asperger's or something. They never say it in the movie. They never say he has that, but I feel like they made him out like he does.
Yeah, but like, and specifically in the novel, like I remember he's really good with numbers. Like he's just suspiciously good with numbers. Yeah. And it may have been Lex too. I can't remember how it was, but that was just something I always remember from Jurassic World, because that one kid was like always asked like how much stuff was, or how much it weighed, or how many there were. Like, right. And they kind of, anyway, it's from the novel. But anyway, carry on.
They are going to be going on a tour of the park, so they get to ride in these really cool Ford Explorers that are modified to ride on these like tracks, which I thought was pretty cool. They're electric, yeah. and they ride themselves. Grant has an awkward interaction with the kids because, of course, we already know he's not a kid guy. So he has these really weird interactions with the kids. Tim, of course, is a huge dino nerd, so he is he's just questioning things with Grant. And then he mentions about a book by Backer. Now, Backer actually is in The Lost World, which we'll talk about next time.
It was based on a real paleontologist.
He is a real paleontologist. That Backer is real. He wasn't made up for the.
Well, his real name's Bacher.
Oh, is it?
Backer's what they called it. Yeah.
Oh, I just figured it was like he was mispronouncing his name.
No, because they mentioned his name in the second one. No, it's Bacher. And like I loved him as a kid. Like, because he was in all the little dinosaur documentaries. I always remember him. And then I can't remember who they used for their the dinosaur consultant. He's been like all the Jurassic Park movies. Is it Jack Horner, I think? Jack
Horner. He was the one who first came out and pretty much was like, none of these dinosaurs look right. They don't look anything like what they really looked like. And it's like, oh, relax, guy. It's a freaking movie.
Exactly. But anyhow, go ahead.
We get a storm. A storm is coming to the island. We're getting a hurricane, and we then meet Arnold in the flesh, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and we get our first "Hold on to your butts."
Yep.
Forgot that he says it more than once in this movie. I always thought it was from the scene later on, but he says it here, and I was like, "Oh, okay." He says it twice. Cool. The storm's getting really bad, but they're still going to go on the tour. The tour is off, and they approach the massive Jurassic Park gate, which is it's great. And I love that. I think one of the few things that I love about Jurassic World is the fact that like they kept the gate. They just redesigned it, of course. But this is a real gate. This wasn't CG. This was legit. They built this massive gate for them to enter. And that's when we get Malcolm's awesome line of, "What do you got in there, King Kong?"
Exactly, which of course the gate design was inspired by the gate from the original King Kong that he comes out of.
Funny thing, I watched Jurassic Park again on Sunday, and you want to know what I watched later on that day?
King Kong.
The 2005 King Kong.
There you go.
So it fit. It was perfect. Great movie, by the way.
I haven't seen it in forever, not since we watched it in theaters.
It makes you tear up. I teared up at the end of King Kong because it's so sad.
Dude, like I really like it, but like if somebody's like, "Would you watch 33 or 2005?" and I'll watch 33.
They're both great. They're both great. I think 2005 is a fantastic remake.
Oh yeah. It definitely hits all the points. Doesn't screw anything up. I think it's great.
I can't wait till we do a show where we just talk about originals and remakes, and we can just grade them. That's a future show.
Please. Oh yes. I got plenty I could suggest.
They pull up to the Dilophosaurus enclosure, and it's nowhere to be found. Also, all the info on Dilophosaurus is wrong.
Every bit of
every piece. The security is super wonky in this park. Dennis Nedry is the man behind it all. The gang pulls up to the T-Rex enclosure, and nothing but a goat is used to entice the T-Rex. But he's a hunter. He wants to hunt, as Graham would say.
Yep.
This door is a bust. Malcolm asks if dinosaurs will be on this tour, and that's when we get the. I hate that man. I really hate that man.
Yes.
Malcolm helps to explain chaos to Ellie, pretty much his way of flirting with her. Grant sees something lying out in the field and jumps out of the car to see, and Ellie follows. Yeah, we get the water droplet. Stupid thing. God.
No one could have predicted that Dr. Sadler and Dr. Grant would jump out of the Jeep. Now that is chaos.
Yes, you get the great scene of them both jumping out and just Malcolm sitting there just talking to himself. It's so good.
Which I assume is what he always does, because that's just how his character just seems.
Yes, 100%. Nedry is scouting the area to complete his master plan. He's got a bunch of cameras. He's got a camera on the dock. He's got a camera on where the embryos are stored.
He's got a picture of a donut on his computer.
Yeah. What's the guy in the picture? It's a scientist. Isn't it the guy who was part of the Manhattan Project?
I think so. I think you're right. Yeah.
Oppenheimer or something like that.
Yeah, I know.
He was the guy who helped create the.
Was it Was it Oppenheimer?
Oppenheimer. That's who it was.
Okay.
Is the
Keep
guy
going.
who helped create the atom bomb. Everybody gets out of the vehicles to see what's in the field. They discover it's a sick Triceratops. I love Triceratops. Ellie needs to check the poo. And Malcolm comments about the big pile of shit. Now that's a big pile of shit.
Yep.
You're going to wash your hands before you eat, right?
Yes.
Grant is in heaven because the Triceratops was his favorite dinosaur as a kid. You get the amazing animatronics by Stan Winston. This thing looks spectacular. The details,
So real, dude.
the eyes, the tongue, the way they got the tongue to be all like slimy and infected because the dinosaur is sick and trying to figure out. I love that whole thing. Also, the doctor here, or the guy, the park doctor who's there, his name is Dr. Harding. Now, in The Lost World, Julianne Moore's character is named Harding.
Mm-hmm.
Are they related?
That's a good question.
They never state it in the movies, but I don't know if there was something. I mean, we'll talk about Lost World next time, but yeah, I just found that I always questioned that. I was like, are they related? Was this?
Could that be?
Well, I know he's in the novel. I'm pretty sure Harding is in the novel.
Yes.
And that scene is, of course, like expanded upon greatly, but I don't remember any of it.
Could it be how her
Met? Possibly. I don't know. I don't remember.
just saying?
Could be.
We also get the shot of Grant riding the stomach of the Triceratops as it's breathing, which is always great. The storm is getting really crazy, so they need to evacuate. Ellie stays with Dr. Harding as the rest of the crew moves along. Nedry executes his plan awkwardly as he's talking to Arnold and Hammond. If I was either of them, I would have been like, this motherfucker's doing something stupid. Like he's up to something. What is he talking about? Like,
y'all need anything from the soda machines? This rants.
Yeah, he just goes off. Security systems go down for him to grab the embryos. So we then find out officially that Grant and Ellie are a couple, as Malcolm asks about it, and Grant immediately is like, yes. We find out that Malcolm has had many wives, and he has 2 children, which you'll meet one of them later.
Yep.
Everything is shutting down as Nedry makes his way to the dock. Because he pretty much shut everything down. Like this dude does not give an F about anything. Shuts the entire park down.
Almost. Because the raptor
right, except for the raptor fences, because he's not crazy enough to turn off the raptor fences.
Yeah, because he actually needed to travel through some of the other spots.
Yeah. Arnold tries to get the park back up, and Nedry's systems say, you didn't say the magic word. You didn't say the magic word.
Please! God dang, I hate this hacker crap.
He's like, how does anybody work on this station? He's like, it's like trash everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
The vehicles lose power in front of the Rex enclosure as Tim finds the night vision goggles. Those look expensive. They're expensive. Put them away.
Did you notice when the Explorer stops, Grant thinks he did it. He's like, uh-oh, what did I touch?
Yeah.
I didn't touch anything. He's like,
I think we just
because
stopped.
it was something. Yeah, because it was totally something he'd do. But go ahead.
Tim feels something as he looks at the cup of water, and it's rippling. We get the really cool ripple effect. The behind the scenes of this shot was a rubber band or a guitar string underneath the dashboard. That's what caused the rippling in the cup. Yeah, Steven Spielberg was the one who actually plucked it to cause the effect.
Got to get famous for something,
right? Tim notices
by then.
Yeah. Tim is looking through the night vision goggles and notices that the goat is gone. Where did it go? It's just the chain is. Yeah.
Where's the goat?
And that's when we get the half bitten carcass of the goat flops onto the roof of the car. And that's when we get the head of the T-Rex rising in the rain, swallowing the rest of the goat. And that's when we get the wires or the cables on the enclosure start to snap. And they get the really cool effects, which I also think were guitar strings that were broken. Like somebody attached them to something and they just cut the guitar strings. That was the sound.
Oh, yeah.
When the cables are being broken.
Yep.
And that's when we get one of the best shots of this movie is the T-Rex ripping its way out of the enclosure, stepping out. It's raining. It's dark. It looks so good. And then he roars. Well, actually, it's a female, so she roars. And it's one of the greatest animal noises ever.
Oh, yeah.
So good. And for some reason, when she comes, so spoiler alert, this T-Rex is also in Jurassic World. She is the T-Rex in that park. And they can't get her roar down in that movie. And it made me so upset. They
played with it too much.
I love it, though. It's so good.
It is. It's nostalgic, man.
I get chills every time she.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, so good.
That's one of my favorite audio moments in the first movie is her first roar, because they're like, we got to nail this one, and they just get it. It's so good.
So, well, actually, we got to back up a little bit before she officially breaks out of the enclosure. When the goat, or when she eats the rest of the goat, Gennaro's like, "I'm out." And he just leaves them, and that's when Alexis is like, "He left us. He left us." And Gennaro runs into the bathroom, and then she escapes. She roars. She starts walking away, and that's when we get Grant going, "Don't move." They sense movement. Yeah, her vision is based on movement, which it was made up. It's not true.
Capital horseshit.
What kind of fucking is there any animal out there that is all based on vision? Or their vision is based on movement? Like what?
I'm sure there is, but the how they tried to explain it. Okay, so I've heard two theories. I've heard a theory for this and how they tried to explain it in the Lost World novel. The first theory was she obviously could see. They were wrong. Obviously, we know T-Rex had really good binocular eyesight. They could see. That she was literally effing with them at the Jeep. That is a fan theory. Or the Jeep Explorer. The other one is actually in the second book, is they explain that it's the reason the T-Rex had bad eyesight was it was the frog DNA they used had changed its eyesight, giving it a more vision, the eyesight more based on vision, or movement. Sorry, that's what I've heard.
The only issue with that theory is that Grant talks about it earlier, before he even gets to the park. So
I know.
Throws that out the window.
I agree.
So she marches away, and for some reason, Lex decides to take out a flashlight. Like, are you an idiot? She takes out this giant light, starts shining it. The kid and Grant's telling her to pretty much turn it off. And for some reason, they don't know how to turn it off. There's not a switch. And that's when we get the great.
No, just flip it over.
And that is when we get the great close-ups of the T-Rex head scoping the truck, and it's so good. I love the noises she makes. It's like the humming. It's like the short, gurgling sound that she makes. It's not the full roar. In the behind the scenes, though, these shots were awful to make because of the fact that they wanted to shoot this in the rain with an animatronic. This animatronic weighed a lot. Before it was raining, it weighed a lot. But unfortunately, the latex material they used for the skin absorbed the water from when it rained, causing it to become a lot more heavier, and it would cause it to spaz out. And there's actually great behind the scenes videos of the T-Rex literally like its head is shaking, like it's having a seizure.
Yeah, or like it's cold from the rain.
It's shivering.
It's cool.
They actually had to have a lot of crew people. Like literally, they would have to climb on top of it and pat it down. Like they'd take towels and they had to try to get as much of the water out of the T-Rex. It's so great to watch behind the scenes of stuff like this, because I love this scene. Like the fact of getting the eyes to dilate when she shines the light in its eye and its eye oh, it's so good. Such great detail.
Steven Spielberg should know by now not to do water and animatronics.
No,
the Jaws shit.
You didn't learn the first time, did you?
Right.
So we get the look, because of course her vision is based on movement. So she doesn't really pay attention to them until Timmy closes the door, which then the great just the jerk motion of her looking into the vehicle, so good. Then they both climb into the back seat and try to figure out how to shut off a flashlight, because there's not a switch on the flashlight to figure it out. And as they're trying to do that, she comes from the roof and brings down the glass. Now, in reality, these kids would have been dead instantaneously because that is a massive dinosaur with a very large head, and if its head comes through that skylight, they're crushed. They are dead before Grant can even rescue any of them. So, I guess whatever. Trust me, there's a lot more to nitpick from some scenes coming up. So yeah, she's attacking the car. Grant looks through the crate they have in the back of their car. He finds a flare, so he's going to distract the Rex away. But Malcolm decides to be the hero too and grabs a flare himself. Grant does a really good way of, I love it. It's literally like you're playing fetch with your dog. He literally is like, follow the stick, and then he throws it. The T-Rex starts to run towards it, but then Malcolm comes out and screams and waves like a psychopath. Yeah. And then the Rex chases Malcolm, even though he throws his flare, and she knocks him into the bathroom that Gennaro is hiding in. And this is when we get our what would this be, our second death of the film?
Yes.
As Gennaro is sitting on the toilet, the Rex is like, ooh, what's this, a new toy? And and eats Gennaro.
She has some Italian.
Still don't know why he's wearing a dress shirt, tie, and shorts.
I love it. It's
loafers.
such a great outfit. I'm gonna be Gennaro for Halloween. I already have his outfit in my closet. It's fine.
It's the style. It was the style at the time.
So good, so good. We then. The T-Rex then goes back to the first car, right? Or did she flip it and start chewing on it beforehand? Before Grant takes the flares?
Yes, it was flipped. It was flipped and getting squished prior. That's when the flares came out.
So she flips the truck with Tim and Lex in it. She's chewing on the freaking tire like a chew toy, which is great because that was all practical. That scene of her with chewing on the tire and then has a piece of the rubber sticking out of her mouth. So good. He starts crushing the car. That's when Grant does his thing. Malcolm does his thing. Gennaro gets eaten. And we then go back to as the Rex is distracted, Grant goes to the car, pulls Lex out. As he's trying to get Tim out, she sees that the Rex is right there. She screams, and her scream is insane. Good. And it's great because it's a special power in the Lego Jurassic World games. It's literally, you want to break glass, you got to be Lex. Or pretty much they just make all the females have that scream ability.
Yeah. Sexism.
Yep. So she screams, reacts. Grant turns around, covers her mouth, but then we get the great shot of them, the Rex is right there, just staring at them. And of course we get again, don't move. Her vision's based on movement. So they stand very still. The Rex kind of scopes past them, pretty much not seeing them because they're not moving. But she knows that Tim is still in the car because she can hear him in there. So she starts to spin the truck around, and then she pushes it up against the wall of the enclosure. And this is where you have to expand your disbelief of what this enclosure was, because moments before, this Rex is level with where the trucks are in her paddock, and she easily walks out of the paddock. But now there is a very, very tall cliff on the other side of this wall. Where did this cliff come from? Steven Spielberg, please explain to me where this cliff came from. I understand you needed it for this dramatic experience and for this scene, but it doesn't make any sense.
Magic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense for a design. Like, why would you build this cliff in this enclosure? Like, who's going to see it? No one's going to see the Rex.
Exactly. Why would you?
Very confusing.
Why would you put the feeder near it?
Exactly.
I mean, depending on how far, because it didn't clearly push the car that far from where it was. Why would the feeder be next to it? Doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all.
That's one of the biggest issues with this film is that. But it's a technicality.
Yeah. So they are hanging off by one of the cables. They're hanging over the cliff as the Rex pushes the car off of the cliff and it falls into a tree. The Rex roars once again, and then she just goes away. Lex and Grant go down to the bottom of the cliff, and Grant's got to save Tim. So we then get Ellie and Muldoon. They are pretty much asked if they could go pretty much do a rescue mission to go save everybody. Pretty much Hammond asks to go save his grandkids.
Yeah, he's like, "Could you go get my grandkids, please?"
And
Like,
Ellie
sure.
and Ellie goes with him. Arnold is trying to fix everything. Nedry crashes. He's trying to get to the dock because of course there's a hurricane hitting, and you're trying to get to the dock. Oh, fun fact before we move on. All of the scenes of any scenes that show like the hurricane hitting, like you get the extreme weather shots, like on the jetties and stuff. It was actually filmed by crew members of the film. Steven Spielberg actually sent them out there to get real shots because a hurricane actually hit Hawaii while they were filming.
Yep.
So all of those shots are actually were filmed by crew members of the film.
Well, I'll point this out before we get too far from the scene. In the scene where Gennaro dies from the T-Rex in the movie, is since his character is actually two characters essentially, or a character by a different name. In the novel, when they get attacked by the T-Rex or about to get attacked by the T-Rex, Ed Regis is with the kids in the van. It is in their car. He runs off into the night when the T-Rex starts breaking out, right? Not into the bathroom. And the actual Gennaro in the novel stays with the kids and protects the kids, and he lives. But Ed Regis runs off into there, and he actually gets killed by a second T-Rex, because there's two T-Rexes in the first novel. There's the adult and there's a juvenile one, and he gets he further down the road after all the stuff, they all break out. He gets accosted by the juvenile T-Rex, who just kind of screws around with him and then eats him.
So okay.
So the characters essentially, Ed Regis is essentially the same as Gennaro. Ed Regis from the novel, same as Gennaro, there's a different name.
So something they
both cowards,
right? So something they kind of threw into the next film.
Yes, correct. There's some other stuff that I missed. We'll talk about at the end, but that's not the big deal.
So Nedry's having a hard time getting to the dock. He accidentally crashes into one of the directional posts, and you get to see where he's trying to figure out which direction it is. Then he just spins it. He then continues to drive, and then he crashes his Jeep into one of the enclosures. Or at least he doesn't know that at the time. He just thinks he crashed on like a waterfall. It was like a little runoff there. So
and he sees the other road below him. He's like, "Oh, there it is."
Yeah, I'll just winch against this tree and get myself out of here. So as he's wrapping the winch around the tree, he hears a noise, which, to be honest, I like the noise of the Dilophosaurus, which is the dinosaur we see. It's definitely a bird. It definitely sounds like a bird.
Yep. Too bad we never ever fucking hear it again.
Yeah. So, Nedry comes face to face with the Jurassic Park version of the Dilophosaurus, which is one of the most egregious fucking things they've ever done to a dinosaur in a movie. Like this. So Dilophosauruses were estimated to be at least 20 feet long. These are very large dinosaurs. Yep. And no, they did not have a fucking frill that came out when and they didn't shoot out poison. It was they took a bunch of different animals, characteristics. They created a dinosaur. They wanted this dinosaur to be scary because I feel like, to be honest, I feel like you put a real Dilophosaurus in this movie with how big they were, it's still terrifying. But the fact that they added...
Scared Victor.
What now?
That's the part that scared Victor.
That's the part that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. This was the part, like T-Rex and this, and that's why they're my favorite dinosaur.
So Nedry's trying to get out of there. He tries to play fetch with it. He calls it stupid.
This is why you're extinct.
Yeah. Then he starts
run you over when I come down from this cloud.
Yeah. Then he starts climbing up the little waterfall there to get back up to his Jeep, and he hears it again. He turns around, and that's when it opens up. It's called a frill, right?
Yep.
And it hisses. It's got like a rattlesnake sound, and then it shoots, and then it shoots poison, or it shoots like this toxic stuff.
It's like sludge.
Yeah,
it's kind of like a sludge. I like the sound they make not the rattlesnake, but the actual like gravelly, like yelling hiss sound they
Yeah.
make right before they spit is really
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
Where it's like it's the rattlesnake rattle with that high pitched squeak or the high pitched
Yes.
like scream, and then
Yeah,
he shoots
yeah.
it off, and that's it. Like he tries to take it off, and then he climbs back into his car. Oh well, because he shoots him in the eyes too.
Yeah, he gets hit in the chest. He starts climbing back up, and he turns around because he hears it behind him, and it spits him in the face.
Yep. He
tries to knock himself out.
Yeah, he can't see anything. He tries to get into the Jeep. He almost knocks himself out. Falls to the ground. The Barbasol can falls out of his pocket, and we all know how this all ends. This is kind of it's one of those things that they put in there to pretty much indicate Nedry's going to die.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
what happens is he gets in the car, and he turns, and that thing is sitting there. He's got a seatbelt on. He's like, I'm coming too.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's right. Let's
And-
go to the dock.
And we get Nedry's awesome screams too as he's getting attacked by it. And you could see the shadow of the dinosaur actually attacking him, which I always thought was great. It's not just like you having to imagine. You don't see the dinosaur in detail, but you see the shadow of the dinosaur attacking, and you get Nedry screaming. And that's it for him.
Well, see, there's a couple lines in this scene. This is my biggest problem because I grew up loving the Dilophosaurus. It was the first Jurassic Park. It was one of the first Jurassic Park toys I bought. It was that and the electric Velociraptor.
Yep.
Maybe with his legs and yells. Anyway, but my issue was, is of course, like you said, the size is all wrong. They're about 20 to 21 feet long, and they're about 7 to 7.5 feet at the hip. So they're actually larger than Velociraptors, of course. They were the apex predator of the early Jurassic of North America. Very cool dinosaurs. But the reason I heard they didn't want to use that correct size in the film is because they thought it might confuse audiences from the Velociraptors, which again, I don't understand how you do, but apparently that's what they thought, or what I've heard they thought. And there's a line Nedry says in the movie, of course this is after this is glasses, and he sees it, and he's like, oh, I thought you were one of your bigger brothers. Clearly, he doesn't know anything about the dinosaurs in the park. I think he just thinks they're like a large, like Velociraptor or like a T-Rex. I don't think he implies that. Some people think that, oh, it's not a full-grown Dilophosaurus, but I think he's implying another dinosaur because he doesn't know.
Right.
So
That dinosaur wouldn't have been in his Jeep.
there's more than one.
I've heard theories that this.
Oh no, the big one. I meant the little ones.
I've heard theories that this one wasn't actually an adult.
See, that's what people have said based on what he says. Like, oh, at least you're not one of your bigger brothers or whatever. I'm like, I don't think he knows. I think he's just referring to a larger dinosaur.
Yeah, he could.
Because every other appearance of the Dilophosaurus, even after, have all been wrong. Like, they're never been the right size. But anyway, that's my gripes. My favorite dinosaur, I'm going to bitch about it.
That's fine. Grant needs to rescue Tim, so he goes up the tree. Right after he pulls him out of the car, he decides to follow them. The car decides to follow them down the tree. And boy, I would be shitting my pants in this situation.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And it's so great when they get to the bottom of the tree and the car crashes on top of them. And they're like, well, looks like we're back in the car again.
Yeah.
Ellie and Muldoon, they pull up in one of the vehicles. They discover the dead Gennaro. You don't see anything, but they find probably pieces of Gennaro. And then they find
Gennaro.
Yeah, it's like,
I think this was too.
Yeah. And then you get them finding Malcolm underneath some debris. They get him into a Jeep, and then they're trying to search for the other vehicle because they notice that there's only one. They go to the side of the now cliff paddock and notice that the other car is down at the bottom. They go down to investigate. They don't see anything, but they see footprints going away from the scene. So they got some hopes that they're still alive. They go back up. Well, actually, we get to see where Malcolm is laying in the back of the Jeep, and he sees the ripples in the T-Rex footprint.
Pretty alarmed here.
Yeah, he's like, and then that's when everybody starts running towards the Jeep. And that's when you get the scene where the T-Rex comes out of the trees. It like separates the trees. And we get the chase scene where Muldoon is fast and furiousing his way out of this situation. And Malcolm's in the back facing the T-Rex, which has to be the most terrifying thing. We also get the shot where Muldoon looks into the mirror and it says
Yep.
some things appear larger.
Objects in mirror closer than they appear,
Yeah,
or whatever.
that's it.
Yes.
And which is great. So it's funny when they actually were creating this scene, they actually used a rhino as a reference. So they actually drove a beat up vehicle next to a rhino, and the rhino was the one who actually created that scene where the head of the T-Rex swipes alongside the side of the car.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, not in the scene itself, but they pretty much recorded a rhino doing something similar, and then they just transferred it into the scene with the T-Rex, which I thought was cool.
That's very cool.
We got Malcolm, backing into the shifter there.
Yep.
Causing some issues. But then the T-Rex just says, "I'm tired. I'm not chasing you anymore." Also, so they clocked the T-Rex at a max speed of 32 miles an hour. 32. This Jeep definitely could go faster than 32 miles an hour, yet this T-Rex was keeping up.
I was like, go faster.
I just thought he had better incentive with some fast food.
You can't throw numbers out there like that and then have a scene where the T-Rex is chasing an automobile. So it's wild.
I agree.
It's like, I know that Jeep can drive faster.
Grant, Lex, and Tim climb another tree, and you always get the jokes like, I just got out of a tree, now I got to go back up a tree.
I'm not afraid of trees.
Yeah.
I know, I don't hate them.
Yeah, you weren't in the last one.
That's right.
The kids and Grant see some Brachiosauruses in the distance, and they're singing to each other. Grant shows off his...
It's Vegisaurus.
Yep, Vegisauruses. Grant shows off his cool raptor claw, and Tim tells some really great dinosaur jokes.
Yes.
And then Grant decides to toss his claw. Ellie and Hammond are back at the Welcome Center, and they have a conversation about life. And Hammond talks about his prior experiences with entertainment. He talks about a flea circus he once ran, and how people had to use their imaginations to pretty much imagine the fleas doing, acrobatics and all this stuff, where he wanted this place to be something that people can actually see and touch and interact with what's here. But she pretty much puts him in his place. Like, your eyes were bigger than your stomach, pretty much. Like, you were way too ambitious, and you didn't think about things through before you started doing this.
Yep.
And
they're eating ice cream. That's important.
Yes.
Because no expense was spared.
Because the power's out, they got to make sure you eat that ice cream before it melts.
Dang right.
And then this is where you get a glimpse of really how bad Hammond is as a person. He's more concerned about starting again, about doing it again. He's going to do it right the next time, and said, like, your freaking grandkids are out there. Grant's out there. Like, there's people are dead. Like, stop worrying about next time, because you're probably not. You should be in jail.
No, they said to sign off at the park. It'll be all right.
Yeah. Alan and the kids get an up close and personal encounter with the Brachiosauruses. They are Brachiosaurus, right?
Yes, you're correct.
Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure. Lex gets a nice amount of dino snot on her. The dinos, because she's sick. They venture out of the tree. Alan finds dino eggs, and that's when you get, oh shit, Malcolm is right. So the thing is that they mixed the dino DNA that they pulled out of the amber. They mixed it with frog DNA, and there are certain species of frog that if it's in a environment with the same sex, in order to procreate, one of them would change sex so that they can procreate, and that's what the dinosaurs are doing because they're all female. Eventually, one of them has to turn male to help make more.
And this is the point I was talking about. This is where I can reference my favorite scene from the novel that is not in the movie. And I understand why they did this. It's why Biosen's not mentioned. It's why a lot of this stuff's streamlined, like we know, for movie format, because books are just way too much information to condense into a film.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a scene in the novel. This is before all the power and everything goes out, or maybe it's right before everything kind of goes to shit. Ian's in there with, I want to say, Sadler, Mr. Arnold, and Hammond. And they're like, he asked him how to keep track of the dinosaurs. He's like, well, we have a system of motion trackers and everything, which he mentions earlier in the movie. Motion trackers and everything that calculates how many dinosaurs we have. So we have 198 dinosaurs. He's like, how do we know we have 198 dinosaurs? Well, our system tells us we have 198 dinosaurs. Punched in 198 dinosaurs, whole list of all the dinosaurs on the island and where they're at. He's like, okay, so how do you know you don't have more than that? Well, we don't. Our system tells us how many dinosaurs. He's like, just for the sake of me being wrong, tell it to look for 201 dinosaurs. Scans out 201 dinosaurs. It's like, well, that shouldn't be possible. We should only have 198. The problem is, he's like, that's your problem. You set a cap. You said they won't breed, but like I told you, the way this stuff works is, like you said, they'll find a way to make it happen if it's meant to happen. So like it ends up being like almost 300 dinosaurs are on the island, like 100 more than they are supposed to be. This is where they really established the breeding on the island. It's much more fleshed out in the book. I'm not doing it justice, but if you can ever like read it yourself or find a section where somebody reads this, I could send you a video. It's brilliant. It's one of the best scenes of just Malcolm proving these people wrong just by how ignorant they are in that situation. And I understand why it's like, oh, look, they're breeding in the wild. And it's never brought up again in the movie because there's not really a point to it.
Yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure those are raptor eggs by the footprints.
Yes. I figured with the way that their footprints were, I figured it was raptor. So the frog DNA is what caused the sex changes and what's pretty much making it possible for these dinosaurs to make more dinosaurs. Hammond wants to shut down the system, and Arnold is like, what? You do realize the things that it's going to shut down, right? Like the raptors?
Yeah.
They're paddock, the most dangerous thing on this island? Yeah, it's going to shut He's like, we got to do it. So he does. And that's when we get our second, you better hold on to your butts, as he shuts the system down and then flicks it back on. And you're like, did it work? And then you go over and it's this little tiny indicator that the system is ready to reboot.
Yeah, a little prompt on the screen. Boop, boop.
So that's when Grant and the kids are wandering in a field and they encounter gallimimuses. So it's like a flock of birds. And he's like, oh, they're like birds. They're flocking, because they literally all, when one changes direction, they all change the same direction. And then they start running towards them. And he's like, are they supposed to, like, they're running this way. They probably should move. And then you get the scene of them running away. And it's always great to watch the behind the scenes of them just running to nothing. Like they're just running and looking around at nothing. And then they jump behind a log as all the gallimimuses are kind of jumping over the log. Fun fact, they did this scene as like a test with a bunch of the writers or it was a bunch of the guys that worked for ILM, and the head designer or one of the bigger guys for ILM broke his arm because he tripped over the thing that was supposed to be the log and, shattered his arm. So,
oh god,
that was good. So they witness the gallimimuses running away, but then the T-Rex shows back up, just comes out of nowhere and just pounces, and we get our first dino on dino kill of the series. As the T-Rex attacks one of them, you get the sound. I love it because it's the sound of a dog with a toy in its mouth shaking the toy. That's literally what what the T-Rex sounds like when it's shaking the Gallimimus, and then it takes a good chunk out. And I love it where it's just like, can we go now? Oh, that's so cool. There's so much blood. There's a lot of blood.
Oh, there's so much blood, something like that. So, that's a good scene.
So Arnold is the one who volunteers to go get the system set, or to turn all the power back on. So he just okay, bye Sam Jackson. It was good seeing you. We'll see a piece of you later.
Right.
So Ellie and Muldoon go out to assist because it's taking a long time for Arnold to come back. Ellie makes a run for it as Muldoon hunts the raptors because they're walking from where they are, which they're in like this bunker. And Hammond and Malcolm are in there. Malcolm's all sprawled out on the table. Oh, and we completely bypassed the scene of him with his shirt unbuttoned, sprawled in the security room as they're talking about other things. We'll have an image for the video version. We'll have an image of that just plastered on the screen when we're for you guys. All right, YouTube.
Please, the whole video.
Just yeah, they don't need to see us. They just see it's just it's just Ian Malcolm sprawled out, looking good as always. The raptor. So they Muldoon and Ellie are in like the forest that's in between the bunker that Hammond and Malcolm are at, and then the bunker they need to get to turn the power back on. And that's when Muldoon is like, "We're being hunted." And
so good, dude.
It's great. So he tells her to run because he can see the raptors in the distance, and you're like, "Where are they? I can't see them." And she sprints, and you're like, all right, I'm going to question this because I would figure if she started sprinting, wouldn't one of them chase her? At least one of them? There's three of them. There's three of them, and they're all in that scene. All three of them are in that scenario because they fuck with Muldoon. They trick him. He's aimed at one, and then one of them is watching. No, maybe it's only two then in that scene because the third one would be already in the bunker she was in or she goes to because So
divide and conquer.
Yep. So she runs into the bunker. She's all freaked out.
Foreshadowing.
Hammond directs Ellie to the control panel to turn on the power. Grant messes with the kids as he touches the fence. I love this where he throws the stick and then he grabs onto the fence and pretends like he's being electrocuted. And Lex was not a fan, but Timmy had a good time. So they decide, well, we need to climb over this fence. And since there's no power to the fence, we should be okay. So they start climbing. But that is when Ellie gets to the control panel. She starts turning everything back on. Everything is going fine until the alarms start going off on the fence, which freaks Timmy out and causes him to freeze. Lex and Grant are on the bottom, like, you gotta go, come on, you gotta get down. And I love the timing of how she's turning everything on and he's doing the countdown. And right as he gets to 1, she turns the power back onto the fences and he shoots off. That's a lot of volts. I don't remember exactly how many it said, but it's like he's dead. Like this small child is fried. He gets shot off and you get like Lex makes like a dinosaur noise when she goes to like aid him. Do you like every time I hear that sound, it sounds like a compy is like,
oh yeah,
it's like going after something. Ellie goes from happy as everything is all the power is turning back on to terrified as she gets attacked by one of the raptors. And I'm going to say right now, the way the raptors look in this movie are my favorite. I love the original raptor looks. Like the way the raptors look in this, not over complicated. It's just I like it. I just love the way they look. They look menacing.
I agree.
I feel like they do. I feel like the farther they go into the series, the more you're like, oh, now raptors, they're just like puppies. And you're like, I will say it when we get to these movies. I hate the way the raptors look in the Jurassic World movies. I do not like the way Blue looks. I don't like the way they just. To me, the raptors are scary. Like they're scary. Yep. Like you watch Jurassic Park and these raptors are terrifying. And even in Lost World, I like because they're a very similar look. It's when you get to like Jurassic Park 3, you're like, okay, I've lost the fear of the raptors has kind of gone out the window and the Jurassic World just ruined it all.
I want to say this a little bit out here too. This is a personal thing for me. So the scene where she gets attacked by Mr. Arnold's arm.
Yeah.
When that kind of like whoop.
Yeah, that's right as after she gets attacked by the raptor through like the cables and then she backs up and then the arm comes down. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Arnold, I'm so happy you're here." And it's just his arm.
Fun fact about that. I'm gonna plug this channel real quick. There's a channel on YouTube, Jurassic Collectibles. He doesn't really do many of the reviews anymore, but I'm pretty sure he still oversees it. It's a friend of mine, David. He is a huge Jurassic Park fan, like massive, and there's actually a scene of that whole Mr. Arnold thing where there's actually supposed to be his arm and then like other parts of him, but it was cut out of the movie. He has the on-screen arm that falls on her shoulder,
like the actual.
Yeah, I've seen it. He has legit.
Wow.
He has it. It's so cool. I think he's also got the leg that was not ever showed on film.
I read they actually filmed a scene with Samuel L. Jackson getting attacked by the raptor.
It wouldn't surprise me. That I don't know for sure, but it would not surprise me if they did. I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, little bit of trivia.
So Ellie runs out and locks the raptor inside. Muldoon goes in for the kill. He's pretty much stalking one of the raptors. He thinks he's got a shot on it, but the alpha female, I'm guessing this one was the alpha female, the one that kills him, which I feel is it's perfect because of the fact that it's killing Muldoon, who is the guy who's the keeper of the raptors, to have her be the one to kill him. So and that's when you get the line, "Clever girl," and he accepts it. He knows he's gonna die. Like he's not like he screams, of course, when he gets attacked, but the fact that she is within 3 inches of his head and he knows he can't turn and shoot her. It's such a great line. He just looks at "Clever girl," and then he gets attacked, and that's when he starts to scream. And it's great because you see him getting attacked, but you don't see. It's not too it's not. There's no unnecessary gore or anything. You just it's over. It's kind of like
leaf kind of somewhat in the way.
Yep. You just see kind of like the silhouette.
Fun fact. Also, he lives in the novel. Muldoon does not die in the novel.
I'm sad he died in this. He's such a great character.
I have to say Clever Girl.
You do have Clever Girl socks. But my favorite character that's kind of like Muldoon is in the second. One of my favorite characters that's like Muldoon is in the second one when we get there.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yes, I know who you're talking about too. And he's an RIP to him too.
Right?
So oh wow, where the hell did my notes just go?
I wanted to punch him though.
He's like, his notes just say, and then the dinosaurs went out to get ice cream. Like, I don't remember writing this. Remind me before we leave tonight, or before we stop this stream, remind me to show you my cane.
Do you have a Hammond cane?
I do.
Oh, so jealous.
It came from David though.
Yeah, that same guy. Like, he lives in the UK. He's like, dude, I need some stuff from America. Do you care? Like, I just started a conversation with me. He's like, could you help me get stuff? Because obviously not everything's sold over there. So I sent him a huge package full of stuff. He paid for everything, all the product, shipping, everything. I sent it. He's like, all right, dude, I sent something your way. I was like, no, don't worry about it. It's literally like a replica.
That's awesome.
Cane of kind. I'll show it to you. It's cool. Anyway, go ahead.
Grant brings Tim back to life. They get back to the Welcome Center, and Grant comments on Tim's hair. He pretty much calls him Tim, the human, or the human piece of toast?
There you go.
Ellie and Grant reunite as Tim and Lex chow down on some pudding and all that fun stuff. But then we get the great shot of Lex seeing something in the distance. She's got the Jell-O on the spoon, and it's just shaking. And then you see the silhouette of a raptor walk behind the painting of the raptor, which is so. I love that shot where it lines up, and then the raptor head turns to look where they are, and they run away into the kitchen. And this is where we get one of the most famous scenes of the entire series, and one of probably the most iconic scenes in cinema history is the kitchen scene where Lex and Tim hide at like the far end of the kitchen, and that's when we get the raptors. We get the raptor going up to the window and blowing some air on the window.
Fogging it up.
Yep. And then we get don't we get it where Malcolm is talking about like, oh, well, at least it's like raptors can't open doors or something like that.
Somebody says something about doors, and they're like,
and that's when you get the raptor actually opening the door.
Yeah.
And it opens it up.
Knobs.
Yeah.
All they need.
Yeah, there's such a terrible design. We get the first raptor walking in. You get the great practical effect of the full raptor in the doorway and it doing the barking call, and that's when you get the second raptor showing up, and that they do their little like friendly banter where they're like arguing with each other and they like nip at each other as they're walking through. They're animals. So they do, they're going to act like animals. And I love that they did that. They do, they're just doing, what they were designed to do.
It's
No,
the subtleties that Spielberg goes for, like little things in movies
so
that
good.
people do that make them seem realistic, not like, it doesn't have to be in the movie, but it just aids the scene because it seems realistic. Like stuff people like taking their hats off, putting them back on, messing with their sunglasses, whatever. But yeah, same thing.
So you get so Tim and Lex have to try to avoid the raptors. The raptors are walking. Then you get the one raptor that hops on top of the counter, and walks along the counter. And then you get I love the shot of Tim and Lex looking under, like in between the counter, and it's the raptor steps, and then it taps the floor with its retractable claw, I guess they call it.
Yes.
Oh my, so good.
That's not in enough movies.
No.
Just that subtle, like it tapping the floor.
Yeah. They escape.
That's psychological, dude.
Oh, so much. They get down to the other side of the kitchen, but they accidentally hit one of the spoons, and the spoon falls off, and one of the raptors sticks its head through the cabinet, and that's when it licks the spoon. Another thing they didn't need to add. The thing could have just like sniffed it. No, it licked it to taste it, to try to find them. They are hunting.
Taste the booger flavor.
Yeah. We then get Lex going into, I'm guessing a dishwasher. Is this a dishwasher? Or is this an oven?
I think it's like just a metal, like it's like a metal cabinet is all it is. It's like a slide door, I think.
So she's hiding in this thing, and she's having a hard time shutting the door, and the raptor sees her and is like, it's time for dinner. And he charges at her, but you realize it's just a reflection. She's actually on the opposite side. So the raptor smokes into this cabinet, knocks himself out. Yeah. Tim starts running towards a freezer. The other raptor charges after him, and he gets a really cool thing where he grabs onto the door handle and like swings his way around as the raptor ice skates through the freezer. He turns, comes out. He's trying to lock the raptor in there, and that's when Lex freaking like Frankenstein runs through the like pushes the door shut, locks it, and they escape. But the raptor that knocked himself out earlier, he's back up. I keep saying he. These dinosaurs are she's, but actually one of them could be a he now, since they did mate and make more dinosaurs, and there's only 3 raptors on this island.
Yes, they do.
So they escape. The kids reunite with Grant and Ellie, and they eventually go back into the security room, and because the power is out, the door locks won't work. So Grant and Ellie have to hold the door shut as the raptors are trying to come in, or Raptor is trying to come in. And this is where Lex becomes useful. So she stated before that she is a hacker. So of course she has to be the one to get everything back up and running. So she does her hacking stuff, and you got Timmy in the background like, hurry up.
Yeah, like she gets crapped on the whole movie. Now she gets to shine. This is Linux based. I know this.
Yeah.
I love it. She's like, she types a few things and then it's all mouse. Like, how is that?
It's like the sound it makes. I'm like, oh, yeah, what is going on here?
Where's the dial-up noise?
So she gets the locks working and everything's back up and running again. And this is where we get another just garbage look at Hammond as Grant calls Hammond and says, John, I think the phone's working. And then he asks, how are the kids? And that's when you don't see it happen, but you hear it. The glass breaks. It means the raptor, they're coming through the glass. And that's when Grant pulls up the gun, starts firing, and Hammond screams, no! Pretty much he gives more of a shit about his raptors getting shot than he does of his grandkids getting out of there. Yep. So that was like, that's where you're like, fuck you, John Hammond. You suck.
He's more of a piece of shit in the book. But yeah, I agree.
And they escape out. They go into like the air ducts, and we get the cool shot where they're going through, and you get the raptor in, and it's getting the DNA strand letters reflecting on its face as it's looking
cool.
up.
I like that
such a cool shot. And we get the shot where Lex is going over one of the panels. The raptor's head shoots up on the panel she's at, and Grant kicks the raptor's head, causing him to fall, but also Lex to fall. But she holds on, and this is where you get a good shot behind the scenes. This was her stunt double, and in this scene, she wasn't supposed to look up. She was just supposed to fall, and they were supposed to pull her back up. But the stunt double looked up, so they had to superimpose Ariana Richards' face onto the stunt double's face, so that people wouldn't be like, "Oh, well, that's not her," even though you could clearly tell that it was not her.
Yeah, of course, yes.
So they escaped.
But they tried with what they had at the time. So.
Yeah. No, I don't think it looks. It doesn't look that bad. It's just I love the fact is like, okay, we need you to fall, but you can't look up, okay, because we got to make it look like it's her the whole time. So they escape out. They get to the pretty much the lobby. They start climbing onto the dinosaur, onto the skeletons or the fossils that are hanging up on the outside. Do you know what dinosaurs they are?
It is. I know one's a T-Rex.
No, one of them is an Allosaurus.
Is it an Allosaurus?
I believe so. I looked it up, and I knew one of them wasn't the T-Rex.
The other one's, I think, probably an Apatosaur.
Or maybe you're right. I'm trying to look here.
Because the skeleton does look like I could be wrong, but the head does look like a T-Rex skull for the head, but the long neck dinosaur looks like a sauropod, looks like an Apatosaur or something.
You might be right. That's okay.
I'm full of crap, dude. Most times, so it's very very low chance.
So they get out. They start climbing down the fossils there, and the raptors come too, and they hop on, causing all of the bones to disconnect, and they're all hanging on their own thing. They
cool
all,
scene,
that's really cool. They, each of them fall in a different way, and we then get the scene where it's the 4 of them versus the 2 raptors, because there's only 2 now, because one of them's in the fucking freezer. He's freezing to death. That one's not getting out.
The other one's the other one out of the bunker.
Yeah, he got out of the bunker. And we get to see where you get like the cool like pose, like it's about to strike, and right as one of the raptors, the first raptor goes to pounce, that's when the T-Rex comes out of nowhere, grabs that one, whips it across the room. That one's immediate. That one's already out for the count. Then the second one comes and attacks. Jumps on the side of the T-Rex, trying to attack it, trying to do some damage, but the T-Rex gets the upper hand, grabs onto the other one, whips it into what's left of the bones that are hanging there.
Yeah.
And everybody else is like, okay, we're out of here. And as they are getting into the Jeep to get out, pretty much Grant's like, yeah, I just want to let you know we are not endorsing your park.
Yeah.
He's like, I know. Neither am I. And then we get the iconic scene of the T-Rex roaring for the final time, and the banner that says, "When dinosaurs ruled the world," falls. Yep. We then get the solemn music playing as everybody's getting into the helicopter, and Hammond looking off into the distance as he is just in utter shock of everything that just happened in this one day.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And then we get the scene of Grant with the kids and everybody on the helicopter. And we get the somber final music as we look out the window, and we got some pelicans flying beside the helicopter. And then that's it. That is the end of Jurassic Park. What are our final thoughts on this fantastic movie?
Go ahead, dear.
I mean, it has its flaws. I mean,
don't you say that.
We talked about him, so it's okay.
Yeah,
I know, right?
we talked about him. Oh, I mean, overall, it's still a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Great movie. Excuse me.
So we're not going to do any rankings on this episode because
This is number 1.
everything's going to be number 1. And to be honest with you, I don't think any of the other Jurassic Park World movies are going to topple this one. There's no way. This one is like Dan said earlier, this movie is in it's on its own shelf. You have Jurassic Park over here, and then you have the rest of the Jurassic Park / World movies over here.
Yeah, which are all generally good movies.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, they're generally good films compared to tons of other movies. But it's just, like you said, there's just too much of a benchmark set by the first one. It's not even fair.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't. It came out at a good time. If you're a little bit younger than myself, and I was grew up being into dinosaurs. This was prior to Jurassic Park, so I've always loved dinosaurs as long as I can remember. Like most kids, you know. But like when this came out, it's like you're young enough to love dinosaurs, right? And then this comes out and it just like scares the shit out of you, and it's so good. And the dinosaurs look great.
To be
As I say, my daughter was watching. She got scared at the beginning during the raptor attack scene at the very very beginning of the movie. I'm scared. Dad runs over to me, and I was like, "Well, they are scary. They are dinosaurs." And I was like, "It's okay to be scared, sissy." When I was little, I was very scared of this movie too. So, kind of explain the context, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah.
It does a good job portraying dinosaurs as animals, dinosaurs as beautiful and majestic, and dinosaurs as terrifying as they should be. Like they're like any animal, I don't know. It's a great movie. Dinosaur fan or not. If this didn't make you a dinosaur fan when you were a kid, there's something wrong with you.
Oh, I mean, like I said, this is one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. It's just, I remember seeing this for the first time when I was very young, and just, I people they expect you to watch certain movies and be like, oh man, this movie could mess you up. This movie can make you, like, you watch a horror movie or a movie about a serial killer, like you watch Silence of the Lambs, you're like, oh, you must be messed up to enjoy something like that. It's like, no, that just made me enjoy, like, know that, like, cinema is just there's so much good in the sea of garbage that is cinema.
Oh yeah.
And Jurassic Park is a gem. I don't think, as much as I want, as much as I want the sequels to be good, I know there will never be one as good as Jurassic Park. It's the same with,
never.
Any movie that has a solid first movie like this, you can't hold the sequels up to it. I feel it's not good. Like it makes those other movies look even worse than they probably should be considered.
Very rare exceptions do exist, of course, for some people, like Terminator, Terminator 2, Aliens, which I will die on the hill. I disagree with that, but general consensus is Aliens.
They're two different movies.
Like, yeah, they are exactly. They are, but there are those rare instances where there is a sequel that is better than the original film.
Right.
Doesn't always happen, but it does.
No. And that's not really what I was saying. I wasn't saying there are no sequels that are better than the originals.
No, I know.
But when you have a movie as strong as Jurassic Park,
yeah.
Well, how do you make it better? With the way it's the same thing with Jaws, and they did it. I felt like they didn't know what to do, so they just kept on making the same movie, just worse, way worse.
You mean like Friday the 13th?
But it's just like carbon. It's like making a carbon copy. Like the more you copy something, the worse it's gonna be.
Oh God.
Dude, we need to do that, and I agree with you. We need to do the Friday the 13th movie.
That Dead Meat channel. He's doing so his first videos he ever did on his channel were kill counts for all the Friday the 13th. Well, he's redoing them because his channel has grown and he's a lot better at the show. So he's doing recounts now on all the Friday the 13th. He just got the last one I watched was A New Beginning. Or no. The Final Chapter.
That's 4.
So yeah, the one with Corey Feldman.
They're a guilty pleasure. I love them. I know they're not good, but I love them to death. Except for like 5, and 5 sucks. Sorry. Anyway,
the thing, yeah. Friday the 13th is that's a film series where it's the same movie every time they make the movie. It's like, all right, what else can we do? Oh, we could put more boobs in it. We could put I think the kills are what make Friday the 13th cool. How are these people going to die? We all know these horny teenagers are going to die somehow. How are we, what cool way are we doing? And you get to see actors, really famous actors, like before they were really famous. I know that Kevin Bacon was in the original.
Yep.
Crispin Glover from Back to the Future was in 4.
Yep. Oh, wait, no, yeah, I think you're at 4, yeah.
So
And then, well, I mean, a lot of stuff, like Johnny Depp was in the first Nightmare on Elm Street.
yeah.
You know, it's just little shit. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah,
That's no comparison at all to Jurassic Park. I was
No.
just referring to movies
No.
that were going downhill after the first.
Anyone who listens to this podcast is going to know, like, we might talk about a film for most of this show, but a lot of times we're just going to start rambling about things that we want to do or just things we want to talk about.
I want to kind of go ahead.
Just hit that. Go off in left field, you know.
I'm easily distracted by shiny things. A couple things I want to throw out there, just random shit, because obviously I love this movie. I would not have dinosaurs or paleo biology tattoos all up my arm of various different ancient life forms. Not all dinosaurs. Actually, I think I've only got 2 dinosaurs on my arm. But anyway, Jurassic Park on the Jurassic Park video games, especially the Super Nintendo, are not the best games, but Super Nintendo game is a killer soundtrack, for whatever that's worth. John Hammond dies at the end of the novel, the original novel. And the beginning of the novel is actually somewhat recreated, the original novel, in the second movie, which I'll mention that more when we cover the second movie. So,
well, one of the facts that I'm going to state when we talk about Lost World, we'll just, you know, you're gonna give us some things that weren't in the movie that were in the book, but pretty much they didn't. They didn't use much of the book to make the movie.
No,
For the
it's
Lost
a shame,
World.
'cause there's a scene in the Lost World novel that really should have been in the movie, but that's
Right.
beside the point. But yeah, it's fantastic. 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
So I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. We of course are on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you leave us a comment. Make sure they're nice, okay? Like, this is the first podcast to go up on YouTube's, so it's not going to be the greatest looking thing. Like right now, half of Ara's not even on the screen right now.
Oh,
She's not even in the shot. That's fine.
There's
As
a
long as we can
difference
hear her
between-
voice.
Yes, there's a difference between being rude and providing proper criticism.
Right. We are definitely here to listen to critiques and, you know, anything you guys want to see in the future, because there's a lot of things that the show that we want to do with the show. Like, it's not just going to be these just sit down and do like reviews on movies. We do want to do, you know, podcasts where we talk, like we were just talking about, like a podcast about movie sequels, about, you know,
remakes,
you know, stuff like that. You know, we'd like to mix in things like that, and other things, even shorter videos of like breakdowns on certain movies. And we're also going to talk about TV shows. You know, there are a lot of shows coming out. A lot of shows that I'm super excited to watch and review. And we don't want to just talk about movies. There's a lot of media out there that we want to talk about, and there's potential we could just have a podcast where we just sit here and just talk about anything. You know, it doesn't even have to be movie related, even though this is a channel with the word film in it. But who cares?
Right?
We can
It's your
do
channel.
whatever we want. So make sure you follow us down here at Dissect That Film on Twitter. Also, make sure to follow us on YouTube. We're going to post the link in well, actually, you know what? I'm going to post a link on Twitter because we need subscribers in order to get our domain name. So it's going to be a nice long URL for you guys until we hit that 100. It's 100 subscribers, I think, and to get the
Something
custom
like
URL.
that.
So hey, get us to that 100 subs so we can get our custom URL, so that it'll be easier for you guys to
Right.
go to the channel. Also, we're going to be starting a Patreon at some point. So if anybody wants to watch the shit show as we record it, you can do that. And then, you know, anyone who doesn't, you know, you have to wait until the video comes out on Friday. So,
Yeah.
So the video form and the audio form will be released every Friday. If a episode isn't going to be coming out that week, you guys are going to know about it. It's not going to be just like, oh, what happened to that? You know, why aren't we getting an episode this week? Well, we'll make sure to let you guys know if, you know, something were to come up and we can't, you know, put something out. we all have jobs. We all have family.
Yes,
This is
allegedly.
yeah. So this is something. This is a passion project for me, and I'm super excited that Dan and Ara are here to ride the ship with me.
I'm just glad that you all asked us, because I genuinely love doing this, and I don't have to do the editing. Don't ask me to do it,
Bro. I might even hire somebody if I get too
I was
frustrated.
gonna say, we get enough people in here. Listen. When we get the Patreon set up, go on there if you want. Support us so somebody else can edit it, so Parker doesn't have to worry about it. And plus, I'll probably say something crazy inappropriate that will not make it into the podcast, but it'll be live.
All I gotta say is that Dan was really good today, so we don't have to cut anything out.
I tried. I have my moments.
Yeah, make sure to drop a like down below, and also hit the sub button. Also, make sure to follow us. The podcast is available on Google Podcasts, YouTube, or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podbean. So make sure to check the audio version of the podcast on any one of those sites. That will also be out every Friday. Dan and Ara, thank you very much.
Thank you for having us back.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so pumped for what we're, the craziness that is ahead of us. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, you all have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time.